Leviticus chapter 10, the sin of Nadab and Abihu. Aaron's son Nadab and Abihu put coal of the fire in the incense burner and sprinkle incense over them. In this way, they disobeyed the Lord by burning before him the wrong kind of fire, different than they had commanded. So fire blazed forth from the Lord's presence and burned them up, and they died there before the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, "This is what the Lord meant when he said, I will display my holiness through those who come near me. I will display my glory before all the people." And Aaron was silent. Then Moses called for Mishael and Elzaphan, Aaron's cousin, the son of Aaron's uncle Uzziel. He said to them, "Come forward and carry away the body of your relative from in front of the sanctuary to a place outside the camp." So they came forward and picked them up by their garment and carried them out of the camp, just as Moses had commanded. Then Moses said to Aaron and his son Eleazar and Ithamar, "Do not show grief by leaving your hair uncombed, or by tearing your clothes. If you do, you will die, and the Lord's anger will strike the whole community of Israel. However, the rest of the Israelites, your relative, may mourn because of the Lord's fiery destruction of Nadab and Abihu. But you must not leave the entrance of the tabernacle, or you will die, for you have been anointed with the Lord's anointing oil." So they did as Moses commanded. Instruction for priestly conduct. Then the Lord said to Aaron, "You and your descendants must never drink wine or any other alcohol drink before going into the tabernacle. If you do, you will die. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation. You must distinguish between what is sacred and what is common, between what is ceremonial unclean and what is clean, and you must teach the Israelites all the decrees that the Lord has given them through Moses." Then Moses said to Aaron and his remaining son, Eleazar and Ithamar, "Take what is left of the grain offering after a portion have been presented as a special gift to the Lord, and eat besides the altar. Make sure it contains no yeast, for it is most holy. You must eat it in a sacred place, for it has been given to you and your descendants as your portion of the special gift presented to the Lord. These are the commands I have been given, but the breast and the thigh that were lifted up as a special offering may be eaten in any place that is ceremonially clean. This part has been given to you and your descendants as your portion of the peace offering presented by the Lord, people of the Israel. You must lift up the thigh and the breast as a special offering to the Lord, along with the fat of the special gift. This part will belong to you and your descendants as your permanent right, as the Lord has commanded." Moses then asked them what had happened to the gold of the sin offering. When he discovered it had been burned up, he became very angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's remaining son. "Why didn't you eat the sin offering in the scary area?" he demanded. "It is a holy offering. The Lord has given it to you to remove the guilt of the community and to purify the people, make them right with the Lord. Since the animal's blood was not brought into the holy place, you should have eaten the meat in the sacred area as I ordered you." Then Aaron answered Moses, "Today my son presented both the sin offering and the burnt offering to the Lord, and yet this tragedy has happened to me. If I had eaten the people's sin offering on such a tragedy day as this, would the Lord have been pleased?" And when Moses heard this, he was satisfied. Ceremonials, clean and unclean animals. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Give the following instruction to the people of Israel. Of all the land animals, these are the one you may use for food. You may eat any animal that has completely split hooves and chew the cud. You may not, however, eat the following animals that have split hooves or that chew the cud but not both. The camel chews the cud but does not have split hooves, so it is ceremonial unclean for you. The hyrax chews the cud but does not have split hooves, so it is unclean. The hare chew the cud but does not have split hooves, so it is unclean. The pig has evening split hooves but does not chew the cud, so it is unclean. You may not eat the meat of this animal or even touch these carcasses. They are ceremonially unclean for you. For of all the marine animals, these are one you may use for food. You may eat anything from the water if it has both fin and scales, whether taken from salt water or from stream. But you must never eat animal from the sea or from rivers that do not have both fin and scales. They are detestable to you. This applied both to little creatures that lived in shallow water and to all creatures that lived in a deep water. They will always be detestable to you. You must never eat their meat or even touch their dead body. Any marine animal that does not have both fin and scales is detestable to you. These are the birds that are detestable to you. You must never eat them: the griffin, vulture, the birded vulture, the black vulture, the light falcon of all kinds, the ravens of all kinds, the eagle's own, the short-eared owl, the she-gull, hawks of all kinds, the little owl, the cormorant, the great owl, the barn owl, the desert owl, the Egyptian vulture, the stork, heron of all kinds, and the hoofle, and the bat. You must not eat winged insects that walk along the ground. They are detestable to you. You may, however, eat winged insects that walk along the ground and have jointed legs so they can jump. The insects you are permitted to eat include all kinds of locusts, bald locusts, crickets, and grasshopper. All other winged insects that walk along the ground are detestable to you. The following creature will make you ceremonially unclean. If any of you touch their carcasses, you will be defiled until evening. If you pick up their carcasses, you must wash your clothes, and you will remain defiled until evening. Any animal that has split hooves that are not even defiled or that does not chew the cud is unclean for you. If you touch the carcass of such an animal, you will be defiled. Of the animals that walk on all fours, those that have paws are unclean. If you touch the carcass of such an animal, you will be defiled until evening. If you pick up the carcass, you must wash your clothes, and you will remain defiled until evening. These animals are unclean for you. Of the small animals that scurry along the ground, they are unclean for you: the moat rat, the red large lizard of all kinds, the gecko, the monitor lizard, the common lizard, and the sand lizard, and the chameleon. All these small animals are unclean for you. If any of you touch the dead body of such an animal, you will be defiled until evening. If such an animal dies and falls on something, that object will be unclean. This is true whether the object is made of wood, cloth, leather, or burlap. Whatever it is, you must dip it in water, and it will remain defiled until evening. After that, it will be ceremonially clean and may be used again. If such an animal falls into a clay pot, everything in the pot will be defiled, and the pot must be smashed. If the water from such a container spilled on any food, the food will be defiled, and any beverage in such a container will be defiled. Any object on which the carrier of such an animal falls will be defiled. If it is an oven or hair hearse, it must be destroyed, for it is divine. You must treat it accordingly. However, if the carcass of such an animal fall into a spring or a cistern, the water will still be clean, but everyone who touches the carcass will be defiled. If the carcass fall on seeds grain to be planted in fields, the seeds will still be considered clean, but if the seed is wet when the carcass falls on it, the seed will be defiled. If an animal you are permitted to eat died and you touch it or carcass, you will be defiled until evening. If you eat any of it meat or carry away its carcass, you must wash your clothes, and you will remain defiled until evening. All small animals that scurry along the ground are detestable, and you must never eat them. This including all animals that slithered along on their bellies, as well as those 4 legs and those with many feet. All such animals that scurry along the ground are detestable, and you must never eat them. Do not defile yourself by touching them. You must not make yourself ceremonial unclean because of them, for I am the Lord your God. You must consecrate yourself and be holy, because I am holy. So do not defile yourself with any of these small animals that scurry along the ground, for I, the Lord, am the one who brought you up from the land of Egypt, that I might be your God. Therefore, you must be holy, because I am holy. There is other instruction regarding land, animal, bird, marine creature, and animals that scurry along the ground. By this instruction, you will know what is unclean and clean, and which animal may be eaten and which may not be eaten. Leviticus chapter 12. Purification after childbirth. The Lord said to Moses, give the following instruction to the people of Israel. If a woman become pregnant and give birth to a son, he will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days, just as he is unclean during her menstrual period. On the 8th day, the boy's foreskin must be circumcised. After waiting 33 days, she will be purified from the bleeding of childbirth. During this time of purification, she must not touch anything that is set apart as holy, and she must not enter the sanctuary until her time of purification is over. If a woman gave birth to a daughter, she will be ceremonially unclean for 2 weeks, just as she is unclean and during her menstrual period. After waiting 66 days, she will be purified from the bleeding of childbirth. When the time of purification is complete for either a son or a daughter, the woman must bring a 1-year-old lamb for a burnt offering and a young pigeon or turtle dove for a purification offering. She must bring her offering to the priest at the entrance of the tabernacle. The priest will then present them to the Lord to purify her. Then she will be ceremonially clean again after the bleeding at childbirth. These are the instructions for a woman after the birth of a son or daughter. If a woman cannot afford to bring a lamb, she must bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. One will be for the burnt offering and the other for the purification offering. The priest will sacrifice them to purify her, and she will be ceremonially clean. Leviticus chapter 13. Serious skin disease. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, if anyone has a swelling or a rash or discolored skin that might develop into a serious skin disease, that person must be brought to Aaron the priest or one of his sons. The priest will examine the affected area of skin. If the hair in the affected area has turned white and the problem appear to be more than skin deep, it is a serious skin disease, and the priest who examined must pronounce the person ceremonially unclean. But if the affected area of the skin is only a white discoloration and does not appear to more than skin deep, and if the hair on the spot has not turned white, the priest will quarantine the person for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest will make another examination. If he found the affected area has not changed and the problem has not spread on the skin, the priest will quarantine the person for 7 more days. On the 7th day, the priest will make another examination. If he found the affected area has faded and has not spread, the priest will pronounce the person ceremonially clean. It was only a rash. The person's clothing must be washed and the person will be ceremonially clean. But if the rash continues to spread after the person has been examined by the priest and has been pronounced clean, the infected person must return to be examined again. If the priest found that the rash has spread, he must pronounce the person ceremonially unclean, for it is indeed a skin disease. Anyone who develops a serious skin disease must go to the priest for examination. If the priest found a white swelling on the skin and some hair on the spot had turned white and there is an open sore in the affected area, it is a chronic skin disease, and the priest must pronounce the person ceremonially unclean. In such case, the person need not to be quarantined, for it is obviously that the skin is defined by the disease. Now suppose the disease has spread all over the person's skin, covered the body from head to foot. When the priest examined the infected person and found that the disease covered the entire body, he will pronounce the person ceremonially clean. Since the skin has turned completely white, the person is clean. But if any other open sore appears, the infected person will be pronounced ceremonially unclean. The priest must make this pronunciation pronouncement as soon as he see an open sore, since open sore indicate the presence of skin disease. However, if the open sore heal and turned white like the rest of the skin, the person must return to the priest for another examination. If the affected area have indeed turned white, the priest will then pronounce the person ceremonially unclean by declaring you are clean. If anyone has a boil on the skin that has started to heal, but a white swelling or a reddish white spot developed in its place, that person must go to the priest to be examined. If the priest examined it and found it to be more than skin deep, and if the hair in the affected area has turned white, the priest must pronounce the person ceremonially unclean. The boil has become a serious skin disease, but if the priest found no white hair on the affected area and the problem appeared to be no more than skin deep and has faded, the priest must quarantine the person for 7 days. If during the time that the affected area spread on the skin, the priest must pronounce the person ceremonially unclean because it is a serious disease. But if the area grows no larger, does not spread, it is merely the scar from the boil, and the priest will pronounce the person ceremonially clean. If anyone has suffered a burn on the skin and the burned area changed color, becoming either reddish white and shiny white, the priest must examine it. If he found that the hair in the affected area has turned white and the problem appeared to be more than skin deep, a skin disease has broken out in the burn, the priest must then pronounce the person ceremonially unclean, for it is clearly a serious skin disease. But if the priest found no white hair on the affected area and the problem appeared to be no more than skin deep and has faded, the priest must quarantine the infected person for 7 days. On the seventh day, the priest must examine the person again. If the affected area has spread on the skin, the priest must pronounce the person ceremonially unclean, for it is clearly a serious skin disease. But if the affected area has not changed or spread on the skin and has faded, it is simply a swelling from the burn. The priest will then pronounce the person ceremonially clean, for it is only the scar from the burn. If anyone, either a man or woman, has a sword on the head or chin, the priest must examine it. If he finds it more than skin deep and has fine yellow hair on it, the priest must pronounce the person ceremonially unclean. It is a scabby sword of the head or skin. If the priest examines the scabby sword and finds that it is only skin deep, but there is no black hair on it, he must quarantine the person for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest must examine the sword again. If he finds that the scabby sword has not spread and there is no yellow hair on it, and it appears to be only skin deep, the person must shave off examine the hair on the affected area. Then the priest must quarantine the person for another 7 days. On the 7th day, he will examine the sword again. If it has not spread and appear to be no more than skin deep, the priest will pronounce the person ceremonially unclean. The person's clothing must be washed and the person will be ceremonially clean. But if the scabby sword begins to spread after the person is pronounced clean, the priest must do another examination. If he finds that the sword has spread, the priest does not need to look for yellow hair. The infected person is ceremonially unclean. But if the color of the scabby sword does not change and black hair has grown on it, it has healed. The priest will then pronounce the person ceremonially clean. If anyone, either a man or a woman, has shiny white patch on the skin, the priest must examine the affected area. If he finds that the shiny patch are only pale white, that is a harmless skin rash, and the person is ceremonially clean. If a man loses his hair and his head become bald, and he is still ceremonially clean. And if he lost hair on his forehead, he simply has a bald forehead, he is still clean. However, if a reddish white sore appeared on the bald area on the top of his head or on his forehead, this is a skin disease. The priest must examine him, and if he found swelling around the reddish white sore anywhere on the man's head and it looked like a skin disease, the man is indeed infected with a skin disease and it is unclean. The priest must pronounce him ceremonially unclean because of the sore on his head. Those who suffered from a serious skin disease must tear their clothing and leave their hair uncombed. They must cover their mouths and call out unclean. As long as the serious disease lasts, they will be ceremonially unclean. They must live in isolation in their place outside the camp. Treatment of condemnation clothing. No suppose mildewed combination. Some wood, woolen or linen clothing, woolen or linen fabric, the hide of an animal or anything made of leather. If the contaminated area in the clothing, the animal hide, the fabric, or the leather article has turned greenish, reddish, and is contaminated with mildew and must be shown to the priest. After examining the affected spot, the priest will put the article in quarantine for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest must infect it again. If the contamination area has spread, the clothes or fabric or leather is clearly contaminated by serious mildew and is ceremonially unclean. The priest must burn the clothing, the woolen or linen fabric or piece of leather, for it has been contaminated by serious mildew. It must be completely destroyed by fire. But if the priest examines and finds that the contamination area has not spread in the clothes, the fabric, or the leather, the priest will order the object to be washed and then quarantined for 7 more days. Then the priest must examine the object again. If he finds that the contamination area has no change color after being washed, even if it did not spread, the object is defined. It must be completely burned up, whether the contamination spot is on the inside or outside. But if the priest examined and found that the contamination has faded after being washed, he must cut the spot from the clothing, the fabric, or the leather. If the spot later reappeared on the clothing, the fabric, or the leather article, the mildew is clearly spread and the contamination object must be burned up. If the spot disappeared from the clothing, the fabric, or leather article after it being washed, it must be washed again. Then it will be ceremonially clean. These are the instructions for dealing with mildew that contaminate woolen or lined clothing or fabric or anything made of leather. This is how the priest will determine whether these terms are ceremonially clean or unclean. Alright, and then we go to Leviticus chapter 14. So those several chapters talking about sin offering, but also talk about more detail about after childbirth, and also is skin disease. Those things need to follow the God's guide, God's commandment, keep the Israel community safe. All right. So that is all we learned today. Hope everybody like it. God bless you, everyone. Let's see you tomorrow.